Fortnite just dropped the trailer for the new season and it looks insane. It looks like a lot of content, but what does it mean for competitive? Why is there no FNCS and what tournaments are we going to get? Speaking of FNCS, we had Group 2, we had some big names and we had some big teams struggling. Clix saying that he might even take a break from streaming because of how poorly his team did. I'll break down what happened in groups and then also give my predictions and a breakdown of what's going on today in Group 3. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Before we even talk about FNCS groups, we have to talk about the new season being completely revealed by Fortnite. They posted a trailer for the new season, which I don't know how often they've done this in the past. It's kind of a big deal. It's a really cool trailer. I'll let it play in the background here so you can see how cool it looks. We are getting a full Star Wars themed season. We knew this. Next season is going to be the mini season that has no FNCS, but I'm guessing it's still going to have tournaments. I'll talk about that in a second, but it kicks off on May 2nd. Now, not only is it kicking off in May 2nd, we're actually getting like weekly updates on content right throughout the season, and they've already announced them. So at the end of the trailer, they showed this, which is May 2nd, Imperial Takeover, May 8th, The Pull of the Force, May 22nd, Mandalorian Rising, May 29th, Star Destroyer Bombardment, and June 7th, Death Star Sabotage. So it's looking like a pretty content season. There's going to be a lot in here. It's only a small season. Like I said, no FNCS or major tournaments, so I don't know how much this is going to be in competitive, but they've already shown a lot. We have a ridiculous amount of vehicles. If you guys obviously watch Star Wars or Star Wars fans, you'll recognize a lot of these vehicles. If you don't, it's looking like a pretty hectic season. I already talked about how there's going to be like some Star Destroyer bombardment ability you can do. There's X-Wings flying around. It's going to be a pretty hectic season, and because there is no major Fortnite tournaments, I think it's going to let them kind of go all out. We have, again, turrets on the back of battle buses that are flying around the map. We have all of the usual jet blasters you kind of expect. We have a new version of Mandalorian Sniper, because it's not the same one we had back in Chapter 2, Season 5. We have the Mandalorian jetpacks in the game as well. We have a whole bunch of new cosmetics. It looks like the characters are fighting with lightsabers, but we've kind of been baited by this in the past because Fortnite made the lightsabers a usable item. We don't know whether they're going to become pickaxes or not. I'm guessing this is pretty much going to confirm they are a weapon again and not a pickaxe, which is going to make people sad, but it is what it is. But overall, it looks like a fun season, and I still can't believe Fortnite just released the entire trailer for it this early. We now have weeks to wait until this comes out. It's going to generate a lot of hype, I think, from the casual community and people who maybe don't play Fortnite a bunch but are big Star Wars fans. I still don't know why this didn't launch on May 4th. Like, May the 4th be with you is literally Star Wars Day, and we're going to launch the season on May 2nd. Surely we just like delayed it by a couple days just to let it line up with May 4th. Maybe they wanted to make sure the season was up and running with no bugs for May 4th, because that would be a big influx of players, I'm guessing, but it looks crazy. Now, we confirmed there's no FNCS during this mini season, and it's because the dates just don't line up. I don't think Fortnite deliberately tried to avoid this season for an FNCS. Maybe they did, but there needed to be a decently large break between one of the FNCSs, and I guess this made the most sense. This doesn't mean there's going to be no tournaments. They could still run a bunch of cash cups, big cash cups. They could run dailies. I'm guessing because the season is going to be so casually friendly, they might lean towards more casual tournaments. We might get victory cups coming back. We might get something like daily cups. We might still get multiple round trio cash cups to kind of keep the storylines going. I'm guessing they're not going to like switch the game mode to like squads or something for the season, but at this point, we have never seen something like this. Fortnite has never done these kind of like mini season before in the middle of a chapter. Normally we get OG at the end. It's after globals. It's a bit of fun. They run some cash cups. We've never had it in the middle of the year before, so I have no idea what this means, but it looks like it's fun. I'm a Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars content. I'm not the biggest mega fan. I don't read all of the comics and stuff, but it looks sick. All right, let's move on to FNCS. How did Group 2 go? Now, EU's group was the most stacked group in the history of Fortnite. Group 2 and NA wasn't too stacked. We almost had a very big upset. We had Clix coming 10th, just qualifying out of groups 2 grand finals by less than 2 eliminations. Now, this is an insane performance, and there's going to be a lot of different things being said on the timeline about like, oh, Clix wasn't trying. He specifically said he didn't want to win. Clix did mention on stream that they didn't want to win to qualify through. They wanted to play out all 5 games for practice, but I really do think this was just an extremely rough tournament for them. They got a 7th, 4th, and 9th, as well as a 12th and 21st. One of the games, all 3 of them died to fall damage. It was a bit rough. I'll show you the clip.
Guys, what the f did we just do?
This one was a bit unfortunate. It was a super weird zone. Higgs accidentally builds the floor to try and catch himself after he doesn't sprint jump, which takes down Clix. And then Yomzo's bat ran out, so all three of them go down within a second. That was a game where they didn't get a whole bunch of points, but overall, the tournament wasn't that bad, but Clix was extremely upset. And you can't try and say that Clix wasn't trying. They just had, you know, they were mucking around, they were messing around, because Clix was super serious at the end of his stream. He had this to say.
We qualified by like 5 points. Nonetheless, the most embarrassing thing I ever witnessed in my life. Like, actually disgusting, but nonetheless, a wake-up call. Strats need to be changed. Every single thing needs to be changed. I mean, just a bunch of bullshit, bro. You know, just a bunch of bullshit. Pathetic, nonetheless. But I really don't even know if I'm gonna stream scrims the whole week. Like, I actually just might not stream until Grands. I'm not even trolling. Like, that is like actually just insane. So it doesn't even matter if we got grief last game. We didn't have good enough drops. Random teams out dropping us for our own POI. Full of embarrassment. I'm ending stream. I'm pissed. Yeah, we qualified. Like, it's just fucking stupid. Top 3 team in the region, qualm by 5 points. Fuck out of here. I don't know when I'll be live. I love you.
I really liked this attitude out of Clix as well, not making excuses, just taking accountability and being like, we just didn't play well enough. And it's a huge deal for Clix to say he might not stream for an entire week to lock in. The wake-up call is the best time during groups. If you come 10th in groups and 1st in groups, you make it a Grands all the same. It doesn't make a difference, but it's a pride thing. And again, it's the wake-up call. Clix's team has been called by many to be a top 3 team on NA. Pete, Acorn, and Clix is how a lot of people are ranking them. They've got Lavish, they've got, Lone Wolf, one of the best, if not the best POIs on the map. They should be doing better than 10th. And I'm glad to hear Clix announce that and admit that. We'll see how it goes for them in Grands. I'm not super scared of this performance. I don't think, oh my gosh, Clix is going to do terrible in Grands now. They have had so many consistent set lobby finals throughout this season and last season. It is insane. Like, I don't think I've seen this team really place outside top 5, top 6 a single time. This is like the worst placement they've had, but it's on the back of like 15 phenomenal placements. So I don't really think this one is the example. Oh my gosh, they're washed all of a sudden. They're playing terribly. I think it's just the outlier. Something clearly wasn't working that day. It is scary in Grands that, you know, you can just have these performances, but they've got a week. I'm sure they can shape up for it, but that was the biggest story coming out of the NA group. As far as all of the other qualifications, we had Dolzier, Sandman, Enough, Muzz, and 20's team taking the 5 wins over on NA. And then our 5 most consistent teams, we had Bucky, Okus, and Cam. Bucky got 261 points. He didn't only just IGL 2 controller players to Grands, he was the most consistent team on the day that didn't get a win. I really thought Bucky was going to do it with a win, but they did get a 9th, 3rd, 2nd, and 9th, so they were very close with the 14 kills second to getting the Bucky win qual. We had Rapid, Booger, and Threats, no surprise there. We had Thetic, Fusiac, and Maniac. That's Fusiac's first grand final. Super excited to see him make it through. We had Vortec, Nerface, and Bacon, who became kind of broadcast favorites with the Mummy's Good Boy name swap. Unfortunately, Vortec did have his name actioned by Epic, but game 1, they almost clutched up. They got a 7 elim second as Mummy's Good Boy. That got a bunch of their points. And then, like I mentioned, Clix, Higgs, and Yomzo coming in 10th overall to get our next 10 teams to grand finals on NA. Now, EU Group 2, this is the big one. We knew some big names were not going to make it out of this group, and unfortunately, that was true. So our 5 wins, we had the Italians, Rick Bozar and Zangi, we had Glubshy, Prax, and Grippe, we had Chap, Teeny, and Skivvy, Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache, and then Robin, Cheatin, and Trexa. So Queasy and Chap, probably the 2 big names we were expecting to get wins who managed to pull it off. It took Swizzy, Quizzy, and Mustache 3 games to do it with a 6-kill win. Chap, Teeny, and Skivvy only took them 2 games with a 10-kill win. Then we're missing some big names though. We got some, some good teams in there. Rickborg, Glubshy, and Robin, all phenomenal teams, but we had like 6 or 7 really solid teams in here. Most of them did get through on consistency. So we had Combeck, Blaha, Mixon, the most consistent team on the day. They got a 6 elim third, 6 elim third, 9 elim third, 15 elim second, and then a 3 elim 22nd. They stopped caring at that point. They were so clearly qualified. Combeck, Blaha, Mixon just started W King the last couple games. Have some fun with it. Vico, Veno, Flixie. Now, this is a weird one. They had a chance to win the second game. They got a 16 elim second. Now, I'm not going to try and say they deliberately threw this game, but they played it very strangely for a team that needed to get the win qualification. You compare Veno's win or second place to Queasy's win. Veno's team started dropping down and playing really aggressive really early. We had Flixie literally jumping into the box of an entire trio. It just didn't look like the way they'd play if they were trying to go for a win. It looked like how they'd play if they were playing grand finals, trying to get as many kills as possible and then maybe try to get the win as well. It was far, far more aggressive when only really the win matters. So I'm not going to try and say this team wasn't trying, and it made it come down to their last game where they got another 14 kills second to secure enough points to qualify, but it was looking a little bit rough. Now, we had Seti, Hari, and Cami, the polls coming in 8th on 228. We had Sangil, Titty, and Jewel. This team is very, very underrated. Jewel's been popping off in solos. Super excited to see he made grands and trios as well. Then we had Ping, Wox, and Malabuka. So we had both the Lone Wolf teams, two of the favorites on both EU and NA, just qualified. Now, Ping, Wox, and Malabuka did it by a bit more of a margin than, 1.5 elims. CZB, Eclipse, and Nathan were in 11th, but on 171 points. So Malabuka's team over 30 points clear, but in 10th place qualifying is a bit of a sketchy one. It does just kind of show how good this group was, and that means there are some big teams missing. One of the biggest ones being Frodoxy, Pablo, and Chino. Now, this is big for a few reasons. Frodoxy had uncontested Mast Meadows. It's the team that's locked down Mast, has been helping Mr. Savage, and it's why Mr. Savage's team, if they qualified today in Group 3, weren't going to go Mast in finals because they didn't want to contest Frodoxy for helping them. Frodoxy's not in grands anymore. Does that mean if Savage qualifies, he's going to get uncontested Mast Meadow? No, because Veno has now tried to claim Mast Meadows. We've had Veno say that he is going to be taking Mast Meadows. He had the mountain. He liked the mountain. He did really well. Came 7th today, but we know he had his eyes set on Mast Meadows earlier in the season, but Frodoxy was, holding it down on spawn, and he knew he wasn't going to leave, so he ended up giving it up. Now that Frodoxy's not there, apparently Veno wants to take it again, but Savage turned out and said, we're not leaving. Savage has said we're going to practice for off the off spawn at Mast Meadows. Frodoxy's already said that he's going to coach them for this if he doesn't qualify for last chance qualifier. So it looks like Savage's team is fully locked in on holding down Veno at Mast Meadows. I'm guessing they're banking on the fact that Veno has chopped and changed his drop spots around a fair bit. Again, Vidil and Rezon have a lot of experience at Mast Meadows, more than any team on EU basically. They were the team that were going it on EU throughout all of last season with Rezon, and then we also had Vidil dropping there on NA. Between both of them, they've played more games at Mast Meadows than any other team. So it makes sense they still want to go there. Mr. Savage down for the spawn fight against Veno. It's going to be a spicy one. We'll see whether Veno still wants to go there. We could still have Frodoxy qualify through last chance qualifier. Remember, we still have 3 teams that get through last chance. Last season, we had big teams like Vanya, Pixie, Marius who went on to get 3rd in grands. It's not like last chance is impossible to make it through. It is just pretty tough. So Frodoxy could still make it back to grands, but at this point, grand finals looks like it might be Mr. Savage versus Veno. We still have to have Savage qualify as well. There's a lot relying on this, but I definitely wanted to mention it because a lot of people are now telling me, oh my God, Savage, if he makes it, he's going to get uncon Mast. Most likely not. Now, we have Group 3 starting today. I do want to run through my predictions really quickly. So far, I've been pretty good with my top 5, so we'll go for top 5 on NA. Group 3 has got some really big names in it, but across the board, it's not the most stacked group we had. We have Acorn, Aegis, Poyo at Mast Meadows. Again, reigning FNCS champs. Don't explain that at all. The whole bottom south and southeast part of the map is super uncontested, which means you don't have a lot of third-party potential, but I think for big teams like Acorn, like Canada, I've also got Canada, Bolts, and Sphinx down here at Hopeful Heights, it's going to be a lot easier for them in the sense that it's not going to be as messy. Playing out, just calm, collected, cool, clinical Fortnite. These two teams are absolute favorites with the drop spots they have and the area around them. So they are absolute no-brainers. We have Reet, Cooper, and Curly who are uncontested over at Flooded Frogs. They do have some teams nearby and they could third party and take advantage of that if they want to. They have now switched into Cooper being the IGL apparently. I was watching Cooper's stream where he was playing some Reload with Zemi. I was scouting out my competition for Pro-Am, you know what I mean? And Cooper was talking about how he's going to be IGLing Reet and Curly going forward. So I'm not really sure exactly what this means for the team's chemistry and how they came about this decision. Cooper just thinks that he has a bit more experience, and especially in these higher lobbies, but Reed was doing a really, really good job. They could still kind of, bounce off each other a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't mess up their momentum because they've been doing really well since they formed. We also have Seek, Dash, and Veer who are dropping Kappa Kappa Factory. Again, southeast area of the map, a lot of kind of space around them to work with. Nothing too crazy going on there. The last fifth spot was a bit of a hard one for me. I do want to put it on Jojo, Pikes, and Aoxy who are dropping in the south of Outlaw. I just have a really good feeling about this team coming into groups. There's some other good teams I could have put up here as well. We have King's team at uncontested Lone Wolf. Noah's uncontested at Seaport. We have Scuffy's uncontested on the fields, but I am going to give it to Jojo's team. We do have a lot of these, the lesser known teams in this group, again, contesting. We have like triple contested, Crime City, Train, whatever's going on there. We've got 2 teams fighting over at the Shafts. We have a lot of teams fighting on the northwest part of the map, all around Whiffy. That is going to be a brutal rotate for those teams. 2 teams contesting at Boxcars, 2 over at Pump Power, and then 2 on the south of Dojo Split, which is just definitely not worth contesting. So it's going to be a spicy group. We do have some big front runners in the tier 1 teams that have their uncon drops. Moving on over to EU, I think a bit of a tougher group. EU again normally just has more of those notable pros, but trying to make a top 5 was a bit tough. But Savage, Vidil, Rezon, uncontested Mast, I think this is a given. They have a quadruple contested hopeful just to their east that they can hopefully third party and get some advantage out of. I'm a little bit scared to see if that fight does spill over into their area. Some of these teams start maybe dropping on the south split of Vidil, just the south of Mast, and try and take, you know, the maze area and some of that loot. But if Savage's team plays it right, that could be easy points, easy third parties, easy surge. We'll have to see. Then we have Thomas, Pans, and Uppel at the fields. Very similar position. They could easily third party. Phenomenal team that has the drop locked down. They've been playing really well out of there. Weed, Ilusha, and Nefrizzi out of Magic Mosses. We have Pix, Dharma, Damus out of Pump Power. Both those teams super consistent, going the drops they've been going all season, playing really, really well. They're both solid drops. I have both of them pretty much on the same level for that reason. And then my fifth spot was a hard one. We've got teams like Fanayan, who are uncontested at Crime City. We have Guden's team up at Whiffy Wharf. We have Hellfire uncontested, Flooded Frogs, Toos at Brutal Boxcars. The fifth spot was a bit of a hard one, but I do want to give it to Trulex, Shark, and Noah at Foxy Floodgate. I'm a big Shark fanboy, like so many people are right now, and Trulex, again, such a hardcore, fundamental IGL. Put him with Shark and Noah, two phenomenal fraggers. I can easily see them getting a win on the day. They've got a good drop, uncontested. There's not too much happening around the middle of the map as well, or most of the teams that are contested around the edges. That is why I don't have Pink on my prediction. Pink, Kira, Nevs are being contested by the Frenchies again. Pink has handled being contested at Demon Dojo extremely well this season. Would not be at all surprised to see him qualify as well. We have Marco's team going up against Joni at Lone Wolf. They're trying to do Lone Wolf and the RV split, which is super interesting. I don't really know how that's going to work. I'm not sure who decided on that one. We have Rescard going uncontested Seaport. Definitely could be one to get a qualification spot. There's some underrated teams in here as well. Like we have Kenty over on the mountains that Veno's been dropping on, but they're not going to get a lot of the loot to the south because we have Velo versus Nikez. But for the most part, I think it's going to be a really fun group to watch. We have Yanis versus Z Andy, which is one of the higher profile spawn fights we have so far in groups. Normally teams that caliber will lock down a drop, and it's more of the lesser teams that fight it out. But Z Andy versus Yanis should be a really, really fun watch.